because everyone in the room will hear you. Otherwise,
No one's here.
Okay.
I hereby call to order this meeting of the Triton Regional School Committee on March 9th, 2026 at 7 p.m. I am Linda Lukowski, Chair of the School Committee. I want to welcome everybody here tonight. A reminder, this meeting is being audio and video recorded. School Committee member Paul Lees is joining us virtually because he's unable to attend in person. Paul, are you able to hear us?
Paul, can you hear Linda?
No. I can hear you.
Maybe this needs to live closer to you.
Paul, can you hear us now?
Yes.
All votes tonight will be by roll call vote per Triton Policy BEA. I'm going to read our vision statement. We are a community of learners known for unwavering commitment to meeting the needs of all students through the adoption of best practices and our active partnership with families and the wider community who are united in supporting the development of engaged, successful, responsible, resilient learners. Students will be well prepared to be ethical, empathetic, and contributing citizens. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Members of the public may address the committee for up to 3 minutes, longer with the permission of the chairperson. The committee will not engage in a discussion on topics raised during public comment, but may choose to add the topic to a future agenda. This agenda segment will be limited to 15 minutes. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the committee? When you come up, can you just please state your name and the town you're from? And Narissa's going to be holding up some signs, one minute and then 30 seconds, okay? So come on up.
Hi, my name is Emma Walsh, and I live in Salisbury. I'm a sophomore here at Triton. I have been a part of the theater program since middle school. I remember being nervous to go, but when I got there, I made friends with people I didn't dare to look at. The Visual Performing Arts department has become the closest I've ever gotten to any of my teachers. They've helped me grow my creative interests in every form. I'm reading out my thoughts because I'm passionate about keeping our teachers here at Triton. I know that there are not just budget cuts to the VPA department. I understand that money is tight everywhere. I understand that difficult decisions are being made, and I understand that keeping our schools safe is important. I also understand that every teacher I've encountered since preschool in the Triton district has been supportive, loving, and made me feel entirely safe. This is especially true with the VPA teachers in the high school. I have not known Kemp long, but every time I go into his room, I don't feel judged. He gets along great with every one of his students and makes them feel as safe as I do. When considering input with my friends, they have never once told me a bad thing about Kemp. The only negative thing is how upset they are with the fact that the plan is to cut his salary. We worry that the salary cut will make his presence at the school less, and he will not want to work at Triton anymore. We also worry that Kemp's loss will completely gut our music and theater side of the VPA department. We have worked hard with immense help from our teachers to improve the VPA department since COVID. Losing him will hurt all the work we did. There have been many instances where Kemp has pushed the idea of music and choir to students, and when they join, they find it's their favorite class. Kemp works hard with our actors to train their voices and learn every song in the musicals that we perform. I know that he will work one-on-one with them. Our musicals are incredibly important to the students. They help drive funding for our musicals and plays that we perform. He also helps direct the choir for the high school and middle school. If his salary is cut and he decides to leave, some of the work will be pushed onto Mr. Roberts, the band director. I feel as though it's important to mention that passion is a driving reason for most of the teachers when the question, why this job, is asked. Being an educator in the U.S. is not a high-paying job. Listening to the dismissal of our concerns and teachers and students worry about these budget cuts makes me wonder if becoming a teacher is a career I should consider. And then I remember that I will likely go into this career because I'm passionate about teaching. So I'll say it again, that passion is the main reason for most elementary school and high school teachers. Please consider our concerns as students because it is our education that matters, our opinion that matters, our visual performing arts department that matters, and we are serious about keeping our beloved teachers in our school district. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address the committee? Okay. Seeing none. The next item is the FY27 operating budget. I appreciate all the time the administration, the school committee, our town boards, and the public have spent in analyzing the tentative budget. We've now done almost 2 full months of deliberations. Tonight, the committee must give guidance to the administration on what we'd like to see in the final budget. This step is late this year because we spent extra time gathering feedback and information. So I'll ask the superintendent to give a quick summary of the budget drivers, changes since the last meeting, and the process for those who might be unfamiliar, and then I will open it up to the committee for discussion.
Thank you, Linda. So I will not go into detail. As you said, we've been having this conversation for 2 months, so I'm not going to go over any level of detail in the budget, but in the tentative budget document, we have this year seen far more cuts required than we have in years past. We've been, I would say, whittling in recent years. Some of that is right sizing, some of that are budgetary cuts. This year was a perfect storm with, as you talked about, the major drivers being healthcare, staffing costs, transportation, and some additional special education placements that were required that were driving a level services budget that was about $4.25 million. You gave us guidance on a January 31st workshop that working back into a number, as we've historically worked with our towns to try and find a number. Obviously, always the goal is to find a number that works for all 3 towns. But as we discussed, and it was a hot topic last Thursday with our towns, it seems like every town has their turn. It's been Rowley's cycle, unfortunately, just because of enrollment swings where they're getting the brunt. So the target was 2.4. We came in around 2.55. The tentative budget was finalized at 2.566 million. That's an increased assessment of just shy of 1.3 million to the town of Rowley. About 650,000, 656,000 to Newbury, and about 612,000 to Salisbury. The driving factor is both the state's determination of a town's, in this case our 3 towns' ability to pay, as well as enrollment swings. And on page what of the budget? On page 6 in the tentative budget, you can see that we had enrollment swings this year with Newbury going down 9 students, Rowley up 17, and Salisbury down 23. So that swing has created what is Rowley's unfortunate situation where their increase is over half of the total increase in our operating budget. So with that, we set out to make reductions that would allow us to come in at that target. As you so eloquently said, tough decisions were made. And so we had in the tentative budget a total of 26.7 reductions. Classroom teachers from all 3 elementary schools, instructional assistants from all 3 elementary schools, a core teacher, math, English, science, and social studies from the middle school, as well as instructional assistants, and then a science tech ed, a math business teacher, an English teacher, VPA 0.6, and then some IAs and some shifts with the LIFT program at the high school. And then at the district level, we had 1.1 EL teachers and then one of our office staff support from the district office. So that is how we arrived at about 1.7 million in savings. What I can tell you tonight is, as we've continued, as we've always said, and as always the case, numbers continue to refine throughout the process. So the one shift I would say to you tonight that I would recommend to you, we haven't yet finalized. We have a tentative agreement with Unit B of the TRTA that will come before you on Wednesday night. And so we anticipate some savings there, as well as we did get our final medical and dental renewal, and it came in at 11.6%. And so there was roughly 30,000. So combined, I'm going to recommend that you reinstate the VPA position. And so that becomes not replace it with anything, but that 0.6 reduction goes away. And then also the 1.1 reduction of EL is obviously, these are listed in FTEs, full-time equivalencies. So that's more than a single person. It was fractions of. Actually going to shift that based on needs and caseloads. We're going to shift that to a reduction of 0.8 rather than the 1.1. So that's a restoration of 0.3 EL educator. So the two of those combined is about $55,000 in restoration, and we will pull that out of the savings combined from the medical and the Unit B. That again, we're honing in on the exact number, but we believe there's enough there to cover that, confident enough to budget, to make that budget shift. So, yeah, I will leave it at that. That takes us through kind of the process, and what I would, the only thing I would suggest we change at this point, I guess I would say, a lot of the other cuts are full-time positions, and the assumed savings are not measured in the $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. When we talk about the middle school cuts with 4 educators, if you restore one, you really need all 4 to restore the team structure. That is what we were hoping to protect, and that is, $375,000 to replace, to restore all 4. So these are small replacements, but hopefully impactful, and we believe that there is room within the budget to be able to reinstate those. So I'll pause there.
Does anybody have any discussion? Go ahead, Matt.
The ELL, I'm just going to be cautious on how I say this. What does that leave in each school? If you can tell me without.
It will vary. So that's I would say that's a work in progress, right? So we have both full-time and part-time staff. That's the work in progress in figuring out, making sure we can meet the needs. We know we can make a reduction. Part of the shift is making sure that we don't over-reduce and aren't able to meet the needs as they adapt and shift. But yeah, I can't answer that concretely right now.
Okay, you can't tell me what the reduction in Salisbury will be?
It would probably work out to 0.2 to a 0.4.
Thank you.
Well, I'm thankful that we're putting back the visual performing arts teacher, because I think we heard enough from our students that it was a position that would be detrimental to that program. And I believe we only have 2 anyway, right?
On the music and the instrumental side, yes, and then there's the 2 visual art plus middle school visual arts, so the 3 visual art and then theater arts. Yep. but just to confirm, I'm recommending you do that. You do that. But I like
No,
the
no,
words
I
you chose.
understand that,
I like the
but-
words you chose, yes.
But at least you've put it on the table that the administration agrees that that is a much better position to put back. And I've heard all good things about the EL teacher that you're reinstating as well. That the amount of work that she does for the students across the district, especially the co-teaching and all that, I think is tremendous. And I think it's something that needs to be put in there.
So I'm going to echo Linda, and I know we've heard a lot about the visual and performing arts teacher, but can you just talk about what that restoration does? Because I'm a little unclear about, I don't know, I guess this is where the message gets muddled, is that listening to, you know, it's, that the cut is just going to reduce the number of sections that a specific class is running in, or it may not run in a specific year, it may run every other year, versus hearing, you know, whole programs are going to get cut. Like, there's a lot of space in between there. So can you just clarify what the actual...
So, no, I can't tell you course for course what will run and won't run, but I can tell you based on the course selection, which is clearer now than it was a month ago.
Yeah.
It is not finalized, but there is requests for enough to run. This will allow us to run sections that courses that we otherwise wouldn't have been able to. We'll still run. It is most courses are lower subscribed compared to a core class that might have 23. And so they are generally smaller classes anyway. But and for example, you know, we say when we're running, I don't know if I'm audio design, I don't know if I'm using the right words, but there might be audio design 1, 2, and 3 running at the same time with 9 or 10 students, a few at each of the levels. But this will make sure that we have the staff to run all of those. There might be, you know, concurrent sections running at the same time, but they still remain smaller class sizes for sure.
Okay, and that's not true of the English, math/business and science teacher? Or is it just
By not
it's a
reinstating
bigger, it's, yeah, yes. There's not
Yes.
that, so what I'm hearing you say is that there is a need to replace that position, which is why your priorities have shifted, and that impetus is not there for the other.
On a straight, correct, on a straight need to ability to run the number of sections, right? So everything is in .2s. So a high school educator they teach 5 sections, and so every class is a .2. And so the sections are there to be able to run what's needed in the other departments, yes,
Okay, thank you.
if that answers the question. Right, so there still is some impact, right? So there definitely will be some electives that aren't able to run. And if we had, obviously, the full-time restorations are more costly to restore. So if there was more dollars to be able to restore, that would certainly be a discussion. Yep.
Can I go back to the EL teacher, please? Because now I'm just confused. I want to make sure I'm understanding the landscape there. So when you say, I understand the high school schedule and each one's .2. For the EL position where it's a district position shared among all 5 schools, how does that break down? Yeah.
So I would anticipate that we would probably need 0.5 at Newbury, 0.5 at Pine Grove, 1.6, 1.8 at Salisbury, 1.2, 1.4 on this campus. So that will leave us with 4 full-time people.
Okay.
So there's currently 4.8 FTEs.
That is what I'm trying to figure out. Thank you.
Sorry. Long way.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else?
just moving on from those two recommendations, which I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I'm hearing general consensus behind them. I hate to ring this bell, but I just want to come back to adding sports when we're cutting academics. I'm still struggling with that. I don't know how the rest of the committee feels, but it's not something that I'm going to vote against the budget for, but I really just struggle with adding those when we're cutting another position. I just think the messaging about our priorities here. There were three specific, it was.
You have to turn your mic on, Caitlin.
Specifically, what are you looking at, Narissa?
It's girls flag football and a unified arts track and field.
Yes, and there was, the second esports one got removed, yes.
Okay,
Sorry,
thank you.
that was the third one.
I just
that
want to
was
make sure you're
thinking
talking
of.
about all three.
Yes.
Okay.
And I understand the commitment we've made. I just really struggle with this being the state. A budget is a statement of your values, and I guess I just struggle with this concept of we're cutting other things, yet putting this in.
I think it's, especially since it's a girls' flag football, I think it's important, just as important as the visual performing arts for certain students. Some of these students don't do any other extracurricular clubs or anything, and I think it gives them an opportunity. I just think it's enabling students,
To feel like they're part of the community.
right?
I think with the reason why so many kids sometimes choice out of Triton, sadly, is because our sports program isn't always the best, and if we fall behind on that anymore, it'll continue to snowball with like less and less, or more and more choicing out.
And Narissa, I understand your point about cutting academics versus putting in an extracurricular, but even if we eliminated those two extracurriculars, we can't bring a teacher back with that amount of money.
Fully understand. I'm just talking about our priorities here. And I honestly, it wouldn't matter what sport it was. I would say, if we feel the need to invest further into our athletics, then let's invest further into our athletics. Let's not start a new program here that we're going to have to support moving forward.
One of them, we get acknowledged from around Massachusetts because of our program that we have here.
It was a national
The unified
recognition.
one, right. So I just think it's a wonderful thing to add, especially since flag football for the girls around this area has really taken off. I don't know. I just think we think about the whole child and the visual performing arts as well as sports. It allows them to, it might make a child come to school because they want to play flag football or in the unified program.
Narissa, was there something specific you had in mind for that 10,000 to go to? Because for me, like Linda mentioned, we're a unified champion school, one of like 200 in the entire country. And was it? 217, yeah. I think that continuing to build on that, especially in this difficult budget year, it's nice to have something that you can point to and say, we added that at least. I just don't know that for that amount of money, unless there was something like we're getting rid of it just to put that towards, I'm not sure I'm understanding if there is a compelling other alternative for that money, or if it's just for appearances, because I do understand the appearances angle, but
Yeah, so to my mind, it's not binary, right? You don't have to take that money and put that somewhere else. You don't have to take any of this money, right, and put it towards the thing it's going towards. I just think priority-wise, it's not the priority we should have in a year that we are cutting staff members. And, you know, I would also say, you could say what Linda said about this is the thing that makes a student come to school, about many, many things, and some of them are probably the electives that are getting cut through these other positions. Not that you can restore them, but I'm just saying, like, that's a difficult argument for me to hear. Also, we're a shrinking enrollment district, so I wonder how we're going to continue to field additional new sports.
I understand.
I believe that there is enough committee members, right, that are in favor of it, that that's probably not worth having any more discussion on it, but I did feel like I need to voice my concerns about where we are, what we are showing we value.
I think we're showing value that we're trying to give as much as we can to our students with the budget that we have.
I would say that when we look at a tough budget year and we look at these smaller amounts of money and what it's going towards, and it's going, yes, we do have to, we're cutting full teacher positions, so that is going to impact what happens during the school day. And for $11,851, we can provide something to a very diverse population of students for short money. So I understand educational, but part of the value is with that money, we can still create a community. That's part of Triton, but we cannot use that money to restore an educator. So if that money was there, 100%, if it were a swap, that would be a bigger discussion. For me, when I look at the value, I think, well, my values are what can I offer? What can we offer Triton with the money that we do have allocated? And there are concerns about, can we field this team long-term? That's not a question we can answer because some of these sports are changing. Some of those longstanding sports across the country are starting to fade out. So by adding them, we're not losing that step forward where students are kind of gravitating towards other places. So I will say, as far as values go, when I look at unified track and field being added, I think for me that aligns, and I'll speak for myself with some of my values about what should be happening in high school. Girls flag football, there is a lot of interest. Maybe it'll stay for years to come because flag football is growing. Maybe it's something that stays for a few years, but it just, and another sport comes in and takes its space, and we already see esports expanding. So I wouldn't see it as kind of a lack of values on that end, but I do understand if it could bring back a whole teaching position, and it would be a different conversation, for sure.
Anybody else?
We talk a lot about the changing needs of our students and the growing IEP and 504 needs. What I hear from teachers at the elementary schools, how much the load the IAs are carrying, and I am, it's one of the worries I expressed a while ago, and I still have this worry, so I would like if there's further details on what it looks like in the classroom with the loss of 2 IAs at each elementary school, I'd really like to have a better picture of what that means for next year.
If Shannon wants to jump in at all, but as a general rule, it would be general support IAs that are being reduced, not any students who are listed as a one-to-one or needed in order to provide a high level of services. So some of that is, there was a student at the secondary level that through their IEP a few weeks ago was written off of a high level of support, And so that person is no longer needed. That's the ultimate goal, right? As we work with students and they develop, that they become more independent and don't need the support. So I can't tell you exactly, not because I won't tell you, but because I can't tell you, right, exactly how that will play out. But no direct services that are required on an IEP as a one-to-one or a high level of support will be missed because of these reductions.
There are times during when IAs might be in the classroom supporting an intervention that's not a special education intervention. So those times will be missed, but as far as IEP services, we'll cover those with the IAs. Any services that are reduced, we have a reduction in services such as one-to-ones or just services in the B grid. So we look at those services and look at the hours all together.
I will say I think that answers my question, but doesn't alleviate my concern.
Anybody else?
Sorry, Linda was just asking me if we have to vote, but there's no vote required here because it's just guidance. So essentially what the committee says here today is what goes into the final budget document, the updated version of this that Brian produces for next week. And Rich, sorry, didn't mean to leave you out. And
I was going to say, the royal we.
I was just going to say.
Yes, Rich is doing yeoman's work here.
Yeah, and then that would be what would come up to our vote, and it would have to pass. It'd have to pass with 6 votes, I believe, right? 2/3. Paul doesn't count even the empty seat, I believe.
6 out of 8, 6 out of 9.
Right, yeah, so it's the same number, that's true.
Yeah.
I was just trying to remember if the empty seats count, but it doesn't matter.
So that would be the guidance.
So we'll come back to you a document that is largely this, and we should say too, right, things will continue to shift beyond Wednesday. We'll learn if there's more state aid available, and that can be captured in a fall adjusted budget. It could be a restoration. Obviously, that's hard to do in the fall if it's a classroom teacher. It also could provide some buffer back in a budget that is extremely tight across $57 million. But even once it's finalized, there are other factors that can change. We know all of the big numbers now are confirmed, but as far as revenues from the state, our time last week with the state legislators was fiery at times, but I think the message coming out of there was pretty clear that the state needs to do more, and now that 87% of districts are in the boat we've been in for 30 years and getting our minimum per pupil aid each year, hopefully there'll be some movement on that and there'll be some relief provided for our towns. So I'm hearing tentative budget, same number, but the only 2 tweaks we'll come back with are the restoration of that EL, I shouldn't say full restoration, a cut of 0.8 rather than 1.1 in the restoration of the VPA teacher to full-time. And those savings are netted off other increases.
Can I just get a clarification on something you just said? So you don't mean, when I was listening to the legislators last week, I got the impression that it was potential relief down the road, not current year. Did you get the idea that there's relief in the current year?
I mean, I think
Not current year, fiscal year 27, the budget we're talking about.
Substantive change to the Chapter 70 formula, at least next year, right? Minimum per pupil aid going up beyond 75 to where it was the current year at 150, or maybe even beyond. That discussion is for the current year, right? So the governor, what you heard Senator Tarr say and others agree is that the governor generally sets the floor and it goes up from there. So we would likely see, like we did last year, we budgeted at 75 because that's where we were at, and we landed at 150. So that additional 155,000 was captured in the fall adjusted budget.
Okay, I'll go back and re-listen. I didn't get that they thought there was that much hope in it going up to, I heard we'll try for 150, we'll try for 200, but it didn't sound promising to me. I don't know about anybody else that was,
Oh, nothing guaranteed by any stretch. I'm just saying, in the short term, if we landed just where we land this year, we'd still have 155 more in revenue
okay.
than what we're
Well,
budgeting.
we didn't think we were getting 150 last year, and we got 150.
You can't change anything we're doing now, right?
Doesn't mean you can count on it.
No, absolutely not.
Anything that happens there isn't even official until July, or whenever the
August,
state
usually,
finalizes
yeah.
a budget.
But just so people know, it isn't just our 3 state representatives that represent Triton, it's all of Massachusetts that votes on it. And you know how, when you get people in a room, you can't get people to vote any which way the same. So if there's nothing else from the committee, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
We have to have a roll call vote. Aaron?
Yes.
Owen?
Yes.
Caitlin?
Yes.
Paul Goldner?
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes.
Marissa?
Yes.
Paulise?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. I want to thank all of you for coming, and have a nice evening.